Hello, everyone. How you doing? It's Dave Bondy, and with me now, someone I wanted to talk to, Eileen McNeil. Right? I got it right.
Eileen, yes.
Eileen. Okay, so I have a lot of people watching me that are, they're Christian, they believe in God, and I like saying now. I walked away from the mainstream media about a year ago, and I wasn't even allowed to mention God. I got in trouble even when I mentioned. Thankfully, a little girl was saved in some horrible crime, and they found her. And on air, I said, "Thank God they found her," and I got in trouble from doing that.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I'm glad to be here doing what I'm doing. So tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Dave, I have been on the board for this nonprofit called Citizens for Traditional Values. And it's been in existence since 1989 under the leadership of James Muffett. Some people that are listening may know James. And he also started the Student Statesmanship Institute out of CTV. And I went on to work for a state senator and a U.S. senator in Michigan. And but throughout that whole time, I was on the board for Citizens for Traditional Values that was created because James and the board and others believe that Christians absolutely have a role to play to engage in the public arena. And in fact, even better, let's run for office. Let's have our values be represented in state government, in local government, on school boards, at the, every level, right?
Yeah.
Because God has called us to it. He created government. And he also said that we're citizens of heaven and we're citizens of earth, right? And we live on earth, and we're citizens of both kingdoms, right? He never, ever separated our lives like, oh, politics, government, don't ever touch that. And that's kind of a pietistic viewpoint that came into the church a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
And it's hurting us as Christians now today, because if our values aren't represented, there is no such thing as a void.
Well,
Someone
yeah,
else's values will be there.
true. So the one thing I want to ask, and it's what we wanted to talk about, responsible Christian citizenship. What is that? Is that, to me, it sounds like being involved, trying to make a difference, even if it's one person doing something little to get involved. And don't be afraid of being a Christian, because sometimes, like I said, in the media, it was kind of not frowned upon, but it wasn't something you talked about, which is sad. What is responsible Christian citizenship?
Yeah, well, responsible Christian citizenship means that you are engaged in every arena of life.
Okay.
And part of that life is politics. And what does politics mean? The original, like what does that actually mean? And James Muffett came up with a great definition, I think, that is really applicable if people can remember this. It is a public conversation about important issues leading to decisions that affect every area and aspect of our lives. So we send representatives to represent our voice and make laws that impact us every day.
Yeah.
And there is nothing bad and evil and wrong about politics and government. And in fact, it only becomes that when we have people there who don't represent our values. But if we choose to shun that part of our biblical citizenship role, then that's all who's left to go and make laws that affect us.
Yeah, and I'm 49 years old. Growing up, things are changing, it feels like, but I grew up with, values and knowing right and wrong, and it's sad now because it feels like some of that is changing in this country. Sometimes, Christians might be under attack, but I don't think it's wrong to have strong family values and what's
Right.
right and wrong. I don't think that's a bad thing.
Right. Well, absolutely not. And it appears to be a tolerance in our current society for everything except for Christian values.
Yeah.
And I might add Judeo-Christian. In today's day, when Israel is facing constant barrage of missiles attacking them every single day. We have a Judeo-Christian foundation in our organization, but in our country, and that is crucial. And as you know, Jesus was a Jew. we can't forget that part of our foundation, our heritage. And I think that we need to stand up for those Jewish students who are being bombarded going into, college, trying to learn. And as Christians, our voices need to be heard on that too, that we are supporting, they talk about tolerance in all these other conversations, except for that of the Christian worldview, which believes there is two sexes. There's a male and female, which believes that a baby has life from conception till death, which believes that parents, and in Michigan, thank goodness, we have some of the strongest language in our statutes saying that parents have the fundamental right to guide the direction and care and education of their children.
Well, and why many are leaving public schools lately. That's a whole other story, maybe, but it's sad, and there's a push. So what would you say to someone, and I think I know the answer to this, don't bring religion into politics. We don't want that. But there are others who bring their vision or their whatever into politics. So we as let's say lawmakers, they represent our society, the public. So right. I mean, I know it is like if I'm a member of a city council, I'm not, writing a law about God or something, but the values, the people I represent, Christians, and that's coming from who I am.
Right. So if you're, if you're on a school board, you're on a local township board, an issue comes up that one side wants to take away the right of somebody else's side to speak up on behalf of an issue that might be concerning a child. Well, that has to have every voice involved in that discussion. And if our voices aren't there, are we surprised at the results that we're seeing today? Are we surprised? And it's imperative. I'd say it's not only right to be involved in this public conversation called politics, where we vote for people to represent us. That is our duty. I want to bring up one of our well, I don't know if people remember, John Quincy Adams was a president. He was the son of John Adams, and then he was the president, and then he actually went back to Congress. And you know what he did? For 16, 17 years, he fought slavery in America. He did it, and he brought up every single session a bill to, get rid of slavery. And people would ask him every time, "What are you doing? Why are you bringing this up again? What's the point?" Yeah. And he said, "Well, duty is ours. The results are God's." Well, on the day he died on the floor of the U.S. House, and his seatmate next to him, who heard him doing this every single day, was Abraham Lincoln.
Wow.
So it was not in vain, as we know. Yeah. And if we don't speak up, even if you don't see something happen right away, it's your duty to speak up on behalf of what is right. And if you're sitting as a Christian in a church and you don't know what you believe, then you need to start reading and understanding what does that mean in terms of the laws that impact my life.
Yeah. So you're not saying you don't want people who disagree with you not to be involved. Your point is everyone should be involved.
Oh, absolutely. We can't leave the public arena. It's imperative.
Because there is pressure. There is pressure at times from, and it's sad because I forget what show I was watching. Some other countries, their values, their beliefs, some African countries, they look at what's happening in America. I forget what it was lately, but some people are just astonished about the values of what some would say are the downgrading of values in this country. And that made me think, wow, things are really changing. And as Christians, you shouldn't shy away from what you think is right. But some people make it seem like it's hard to step up. I mean,
Or they just don't, right. They may agree, maybe they agree with you and I, abortion is wrong, but they don't want to say it out loud. And shouldn't we have an arena that we can absolutely talk about these? I have family members who might agree or disagree, but let's talk about it at minimum. And then when you go into that voting booth, does that candidate stand for life or not? Does that candidate believe that there are two sexes and that males should not be going into female restrooms and sports locker rooms? I mean, I don't want my 9-year-old daughter or a 9-year-old girl or a 14-year-old girl all of a sudden having a guy in her locker room.
No,
that's crazy. So those are important issues that are decided that you need to know. What does your candidate believe on those issues? We believe it so strongly that we actually have a PAC. Our CTV has a foundation that we do a lot of education through, but we also have a PAC on the election years, and we created voter guides, and these voter guides are comparative and they're nonpartisan. We send this candidate questionnaire to every candidate so that it can go into the church.
Okay.
And we say, here's candidate A, here's candidate B. Here's who they're endorsed by. Here's a key. So you better know who those endorsers are, because some don't represent your values, and vote for your values. Vote for that person who stands for your values.
I'm going to put it on I think I have it on the screen. You send it to me. This is your website, right?
Yes. Right.
Okay. I'll put that in the link below in the comments. People can find it. But very easy to click right here. Voter guides, endorsements, everything you need. Very nice website.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'll put that in the links, and that's something very important. So, I mean, we're getting close to the election. And I don't believe some of the studies I see. I forget where it was, CNN. I watch all the networks, even though I don't agree with them. They're saying a lot of Christians are staying home this November and not voting. I don't know if I believe that at all. But
George Barna did a recent survey, and it's very disturbing to read that. I just read that, Dave, because it's the headline is a new national survey indicated that voting enthusiasm is significantly lower than in 2020, and that 104 million people of faith, like this is nationwide, including 32 million Christian regular churchgoers, are projected to not vote in November.
And I don't know if I believe that or not. I mean, but your point is we need to get the word out, even if you do not like Donald Trump, which I know a lot of people who don't, or a lot of people may not like. But people need to realize policies matter. Policies matter. Policies. Right. I think in Michigan, we learned a couple of years ago, certain policies now, people are realizing maybe what they voted for and they're not happy with it, but policies affect human lives. They do.
Absolutely. They do.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So what's your suggestions? I'll put your website out there for people, and this can give them some education about everything, but what would you suggest to get the voters out? Spread the word amongst fellow Christians, or just not even?
Yeah. And if you live in Michigan, please look at our website, and we have a list of all of our candidates that we endorse statewide, from the state house level on up to Supreme Court, which is another huge important race. Please go to the nonpartisan, go to all of these races, because they all matter. And tell your friends and family that, hey, you need to vote or else you can't talk. I don't want to hear from you. Because if you don't even bother to vote, then you don't get a voice. It's imperative. And what I want to say, I understand that. I think some of the reasoning for that Barna research is that people don't like a lot of the personalities of either candidate.
Yeah.
And what I will say to the Christian voter is, I'm not voting for my pastor to be president. I am not voting for my father to be president. I'm not voting for the person per se. I'm voting on what their record is and how my life was. Now we have example of two at the national level, two people who now have records for 4 years and leading the nation.
Yeah.
What does our nation need at this moment in time? And who is best representing our values? What did they actually do in office when they were in office? In terms of life, in terms of the economy, in terms of inflation, all those other things that are really affecting our everyday lives, because both personalities, you just got to put personality aside, for a moment and look at what they actually do in office.
And on a local level, that's why this website is great, especially, the Supreme Court, because you're not voting Republican, Democrat, right? You're just voting for the person. And it is so important to research the individuals because there are major differences. So
Yeah,
that's where your website can help when it comes to research. Like President, we know, Trump, Harris, we know that what they've done, or Biden, but local levels, a lot of people aren't engaged. So that's why this website, it can help them if they want to.
Yeah, that's great. We sent, I will tell you, we send our questionnaires out to everybody, and we actually even do follow-up. And a lot of people on one side don't send our endorsement, our questionnaire back. I wish they would.
Yeah.
But we send it to both parties.
Yeah, they should. Yeah. What are they hiding from? Just send it out. Let people know how you feel,
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to let you go. I might have you on again before the election. We have, the days are numbering. It's getting quick now before that time.
Yeah.
But I will say a prayer. I couldn't do that when I was on TV. Say a prayer for our nation. Now I can say that. I did sometimes. I got in trouble, but I don't care. My faith is more important than,
Well, and God calls us to pray for our leaders, and that's really important. That's why people are gathering in front of the governor's mansion this afternoon to pray for Governor Whitmer. Lots of reasons.
Lots of reasons why. Thank you so much for joining. I will put this out, and if anyone's watching this, the link is going to be down in the comments. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Dave. I appreciate it.